The Freud Reader is a non-fiction collection of writings by the Austrian neurologist and psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, first published in 1989 and edited by the German-American historian Peter Gay. The volume features 51 texts that cover the full scope of Freud's career, supplemented by explanatory commentary from Gay himself. Key topics explored include Freud's research on dreams, sexuality, therapeutic methods, and many other subjects. The book opens with an introductory chapter written by Gay, where he argues persuasively that Freud is one of the few figures who genuinely shaped the 20th century. Gay emphasizes the profound impact Freud's work has had on humanity, likening his influence to that of only a handful of other scientists. The introduction also provides a broad overview of Freud's life, from his early studies in neuropathology and brain anatomy through the founding of psychoanalysis, what Freud called the talking cure, to his escape from Nazi Germany due to rising anti-Semitism, and finally his death in 1939 from jaw cancer, likely linked to his lifelong smoking habit. Freud famously claimed that all addictions are just substitutes for masturbation, which he deemed the one great habit. Chapter 2, titled Concluding Introductions, The Making of a Psychoanalyst, delves into the scientists who influenced Freud, focusing especially on the French neurologist Jean-Martin Charcot. Charcot was a pioneer in neurology and was notable for advocating hypnosis as a therapeutic tool, particularly in diagnosing hysteria. While hysteria is no longer recognized as a neurological disorder, and Freud ultimately abandoned hypnosis in his practice, these early experiments laid the groundwork for psychoanalysis, the method of talking to patients to resolve conflicts between conscious and unconscious thoughts. Chapter 3 centers on Freud's work on dreams. Among the notable case studies is that of an 18-year-old woman Freud referred to as Dora. After rejecting a sexual advance from an older neighbor, Dora developed a loss of voice. Freud interprets the symbols in her dreams as representations of virginity and repressed sexual desires. The next 3 chapters explore Freud's theory of sexuality, which he divided into 3 parts: the sexual aberrations, infantile sexuality, and the transformations of puberty. Freud carefully differentiates between the objects of sexual desire and the acts associated with those desires. Sexual aberrations involving the choice of object include taboo subjects such as pedophilia and bestiality. However, aberrations related to sexual aims are less taboo and might include preferences for watching or touching rather than penetration. Freud argues that the human instinct toward perversions is best studied in children before these tendencies are repressed through the development of adult psychosexual identity. In children, these perversions manifest less as explicit sexual acts and more as compulsions, like thumb-sucking or autoerotic pleasure without external stimulation. Freud then outlines the psychosexual stages through which children develop. Freud identifies 2 pregenital stages of development, the first centered on the mouth and the second on the anus. He explains that before puberty, all sexual energies become focused on a single person, typically a close family member, who later serves as a model for the individual's desired sexual partner after puberty. Following the chapters on psychosexual development, the next chapter, Character and Anal Eroticism, explores how heightened erogenous significance of the anal zone can shape personality traits. For example, Freud analyzes a 44-year-old man whose extreme cleanliness masks a repressed desire for stimulation of the unclean parts of his body. In Chapter 8, Therapy and Technique, Freud critiques common mistakes that arise when psychoanalytic methods are improperly applied. Chapter 9, Beginning Treatment, Transference Love, and a Male Choice, discusses how patients might endanger therapy by withholding information. Freud also advises on handling patients' emotional attachments, whether positive or negative, to the therapist. Provided these feelings are not seriously pursued, they can aid in diagnosing psychological conflicts and repression. Chapter 10 revisits therapy and technique, this time focusing on incestuous influences, not usually explicit acts, but denied and repressed experiences that later manifest as neuroses in adulthood. In Chapter 11, Psychoanalysis and Culture and Leonardo da Vinci, Freud examines claims about da Vinci's homosexuality in relation to his depictions of mothers. Freud suggests that, in the mind of a homosexual man, the mother remains irreplaceable, leading him to seek male partners who do not compete with that figure. Although these ideas diverge significantly from modern scientific views on homosexuality, Freud deserves credit for considering it a natural variation of human sexuality rather than a pathological condition. Chapter 12, Totem and Taboo, applies Freud's theories to fields like archaeology, anthropology, and theology. Chapter 13, Psychoanalysis and Culture Continued, extends psychoanalytic interpretation to various cultural works, including classic English literature. In Chapter 14, Transitions and Revisions, Freud explores narcissism as a dynamic of libido and ego, comparing it to a preference for masturbation over sexual relationships. The final chapter, The Dependent Relationships of the Ego and the Dissolution of the Oedipus Complex, outlines the interplay between the ID, natural instincts, the ego, an internal regulator shaped by experience, and the superego, a learned moral conscience. Freud further explains how these forces relate to the Oedipus complex, the unconscious sexual desire for one parent coupled with hostility toward the other. Through the Freud Reader, editor Peter Gay skillfully distills Freud's extensive academic writings into a curated selection of the most influential studies and essays. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, leave a like and subscribe.